Welcome! Today, we are going to crack the code of how countries really work. We're building a simple but super powerful toolkit that's going to help you make sense of global politics. Let's get right into it.
So, let me ask you something. When you're scrolling through the news and you see all these headlines about elections or protests or big international meetings, how do you actually process all of that? It can feel pretty overwhelming, right? Kind of like trying to watch a sport when you have no idea what the rules are.
Well, the secret is learning to think like a political scientist. And today, I'm basically handing you the essential toolkit to do just that. Seriously, by the end of this, you'll have 3 core concepts that are going to completely change the way you see the world.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll get into that scientific mindset. Then we'll unpack our 3 main tools: the state, the regime, and the government. After that, we'll see them in action with a real-world example and then wrap it all up by talking about why this toolkit is so darn important.
Okay, first things first. Before we even touch our tools, we need to get the approach right. This isn't about spouting opinions, it's all about analysis. You know, political scientists are a lot like detectives. They don't just go with their gut, they hunt for evidence. And that means looking at hard numbers, charts, economic data, maps. But it also means digging into the qualitative stuff, like a country's constitution or reading historical letters. The whole point is to find patterns, make comparisons, and then build arguments that are actually backed up by facts.
All right, time to open up that toolkit. Our first and honestly our biggest tool is the concept of the state. Now, I want you to think of this as the entire playing field where the game of politics happens.
So, what is a state in formal terms? Well, it's a political organization that has a few key ingredients: a permanent population, governing institutions, control over a specific chunk of land, and, this is crucial, international recognition. Other countries have to recognize you as a country.
And here's the most important thing to remember. The state is the most permanent of our 3 concepts. It has what we call sovereignty. That's the ultimate independent authority over its own territory. It includes all the political institutions, the whole shebang. So, in our game analogy, the state is the physical stadium. It's the game board. It's the structure that lasts and lasts.
Okay, on to our second tool, the regime. So if the state is the stadium, then the regime is the official rulebook for the game that's being played inside.
A regime is all about those fundamental rules. It's the system that determines how you get power and how you get to use it. These rules stick around for a while, usually lasting way longer than any single leader or political party.
And the rules can be wildly different. You've basically got 2 main flavors. On one side, you have democratic regimes. Here, power comes from the people, they are free and fair elections, and you have transparency. But on the other side, you've got authoritarian regimes, where power is held by a small group, there's no real competition, and decisions get made behind closed doors. The rulebook is just completely different.
So, to bring that analogy back one more time, the regime is the software. It's the operating system for the country. It's that official rulebook that tells you what kind of game you're playing. Is it a democracy? Is it something else? The regime defines all of that.
Okay, that brings us to our third and final tool, the government. This is the part of our toolkit that changes the most often. If we're talking about a game, these are the players who are on the field right now.
So, what is it? Well, the government is simply the set of people, the individuals, who are legally in charge of running the state at any given moment. They're the ones making the day-to-day binding decisions.
And here's the absolute key. The government is temporary. It's the leadership in charge, and that leadership can change all the time, through elections, new appointments, you name it. So let's tie our analogy all together. The government is the team on the field. The players can get swapped out, but the rule book, the regime, and the stadium, the state, usually stay the same.
All right, we have our 3 tools: the state, the regime, and the government. Theory is great, but let's put this toolkit to the test. Let's see how it works with a real-world example, the United Kingdom.
Okay, check this out. This table really breaks it down perfectly. For the UK, the state is the United Kingdom itself, the physical country and its institutions. That's the most permanent piece. The regime is its system of rules, which has been a parliamentary democracy for a very long time. And the government? That's the most temporary bit. It's the current prime minister and their cabinet, and that can change at the next election. See how that works?
And this timeline just drives the point home. The state formed way back in the 1700s. The regime? It had a huge shift back in 1688 with the Glorious Revolution. That wasn't just a new king. It fundamentally changed the rules of power, giving Parliament more control. That's a regime change. But the governments? That changes constantly. Tony Blair winning in 1997, that was a change in government. The Prime Minister today leads a different government. This is why knowing the difference is so incredibly powerful.
So we've defined our tools, we've seen them in action. But what's the big takeaway? Why does any of this actually matter to you? Well, it matters because now you have the toolkit to analyze what's happening in the world with way more precision.
Seriously, when you get the difference between a change in government and a change in regime, you can look at a news story from any country on Earth and have a much, much deeper insight. You can finally see what's really changing and what's just business as usual.
Ultimately, it all boils down to this. These concepts, they're not just words in a textbook. They describe the very real, always shifting balance of power between the people who govern and the people who are governed.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. The next time you see a headline about a new leader taking charge somewhere in the world, I want you to stop and ask yourself, what actually changed here? Was it just the players on the field, the government? Or did the rules of the game themselves change, the regime? Or in some massive revolutionary event, did the whole stadium get rebuilt, the state? Now you have the tools to figure it out.